At any given time, there are approximately 1,000 children in foster care receiving a safe, stable, and nurturing home environment where they feel loved and supported. Foster children have emotional, developmental, or physical challenges. They range in age from infants to 19 years old. They are in care because there is a conflict in their family, their parents are chronically ill or have been neglected or abused. They come from a variety of cultural, racial, ethnic, and religious backgrounds. They have families that cannot provide adequate care or the necessities of life.
Each foster child is experiencing a difficult time in his or her life. But despite this, many foster children are very close to their biological families and visit and telephone them regularly. Most children eventually return home.
There is an ongoing need for foster families for children of their varying ages, but over the past few years, the need for homes for adolescents and teenagers has increased. Children coming into care are more likely to be 9 years of age or over.
Ashley Harris is a former caseworker.
There were times where I had very high caseloads and I was not able to devote the time that a child needed to them.
She says caseworkers being assigned more cases than they can handle is a big problem.
With those high caseloads, caseworkers are just running around checking on kids but really not able to look for red flags, and ultimately that puts a child in danger.
Harris fears if nothing is done, more children may die.
It's hard because people don't really understand what foster care is about, and they're not experiencing it themselves, so they're not sure what you're going through. So the first judgment is usually she did something wrong, or she's been bad or something like that. But it's not that at all. Foster care is for kids whose parents can't take care of them, or they can't be in the home because it's not safe.
Through volunteer training, I learned about all the technical reasons why children enter into foster care. And technically speaking, it's almost always neglect or abuse. But I also learned the real reason: poverty. Now, when we hear the term poverty, most of us immediately think of money. But I'm actually not talking about a lack of money, but a lack of relationships, something we call relational poverty. You see, when a child must be removed from their guardian, the state tries very, very hard to find a relative, a neighbor, a friend, someone that knows the child to take custody. But when a safe place cannot immediately be found, the child enters into foster care. Now, some of these kids will go home, and some will go live with relatives, and some will be adopted by non-relatives. But not all of them. You see, some of them will bounce around from foster home to foster home until they turn 18, or age out, as we call it. But they don't simply disappear when they turn 18. And just like when they came into foster care, they'll still be in relational poverty. And what this means is that there isn't that cousin who can get them a job, and there isn't that aunt to help them with college, and there isn't mama's couch if everything goes wrong and the sky falls. So for children who age out of foster care, within 1 year, 2 out of every 3 will be incarcerated, homeless, or dead. Also, some may think we simply need to scoop up these kids and excommunicate their birth families. But it's just not that simple. In fact, research shows that children actually do better when they stay in contact with their birth families. And also, who's ever heard of Google? Okay, yeah, how about Facebook? Yeah, so have foster children and their birth families. So given the research that shows it's almost always a good thing, and the reality of our hyper-connected world, we have got to rethink the way that we do this with kids in care. I'm sure that many of you grew up like I did, with a safety net of relationships. There's no way that I would have ever ended up in foster care because I didn't grow up in relational poverty. If I couldn't have stayed with my parents, I would have had my grandparents, an uncle, a longtime neighbor, a friend's mom. Somebody would have taken me. And it's not because I'm special. And it's not because I deserve to have a future and these kids don't. It's simply a matter of the circumstances into which I was born. So, what could we do to give these kids a chance? What could you do? The first thing is something you're probably already doing. Vote! We have got to make foster care a priority. Call your elected officials. Many of the well-researched best practices cannot be put into place unless our state and federal laws allow them to be. Also, volunteer. In fact, volunteer even if you don't get a t-shirt. Become an advocate, become a mentor, become a part of their lives. All right, and now y'all knew this one was coming. If you've ever considered foster care or adoption, I urge you to take the next step. I can tell you personally that even though the boys weren't with us for long, they changed our lives forever. It was not easy. It wasn't. But it was worth it. These kids are not broken beyond repair. They are not lost. Their futures have not yet been written. There is indeed